A crisis is unfolding in North America that could prove just as dangerous to U.S. security as tensions in Asia or the Middle East. The Canadian government has made an unprecedented move that many are calling the start of a 21st-century water war. According to reports, Ottawa has decided to launch a massive $300 billion hydroengineering project designed to alter the flow of several rivers that feed the northern United States. Officially, this project is presented as a national program to protect Canada's climate and water resources. But behind the scenes, government insiders see it as a strategic tool to pressure Washington in response to new tariffs on Canadian goods. A senior Canadian official stated, "We cannot afford to play only by American rules. Water is our greatest wealth, and we must use it the same way the U.S. uses energy and technology." The first satellite images along the Ontario-Michigan border already show massive construction sites, with experts suggesting they form the foundation of a future water wall. In Washington, the project triggered shock. The White House urgently convened a closed National Security Council meeting. One anonymous official called it a threat to our way of life, warning that millions of jobs would be at risk if Canada reduced the water flow. The project directly challenges the 1909 Treaty on Shared Water Management, a pact considered untouchable for over a century. While Canadian lawyers argue that building new dams is a matter of domestic infrastructure, Washington interprets it as a hostile act, with Donald Trump privately calling it an act of economic war. The potential economic fallout is catastrophic. Analysts warn that even a partial reduction in the St. Lawrence River's flow could paralyze shipping on the Great Lakes, which handles hundreds of billions of dollars in U.S. exports annually. Furthermore, over 20% of hydroelectric power in the northern states depends on the shared water balance with Canada. Politically, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has promoted a sovereign water doctrine, treating water as a tool of national power. He reportedly told business leaders, "If Washington plays tariff wars, we will play games with the resources they cannot live without." Environmental groups are split. In Canada, major green movements support the dams, claiming they will help manage climate risks and preserve lake levels. In the United States, however, environmentalists warn of mass river depletion, ecosystem collapse, and the destruction of the agricultural sector in border states. The situation is being amplified by Canadian media, which actively promotes a narrative of water independence, with magazine covers featuring the Great Lakes in Canadian colors and captions like, "Our future is in our hands." Pressure on the U.S. government is growing. Congress is demanding a strong response, with discussions of a sanctions package against Canadian corporations involved in the project. However, experts warn that an overly harsh reaction could push Ottawa to accelerate construction, making the consequences irreversible. The Pentagon has issued a grim assessment, estimating that if Canada diverts the water flow, up to 40 million Americans could face water shortages within 3 years, with potential drought zones stretching from Illinois to Ohio. The first public protests have erupted in cities like Detroit and Chicago, with citizens demanding immediate action from the White House. Meanwhile, Ottawa's rhetoric is only hardening, with the Prime Minister asserting Canada's sovereign right to manage its natural resources. Behind the scenes, Canadian officials are even discussing the creation of a water fund to regulate access in exchange for U.S. trade concessions, a direct symmetrical response to American protectionism. Globally, Europe watches with concern, fearing that a fracture between these two allies signals the official start of global resource wars. Chinese media, in contrast, reacts with satisfaction, portraying Canada's move as a textbook example of allies pushing back against U.S. dominance. The most alarming development is the collapse of diplomacy. A recent high-level meeting ended in failure, and leaks suggest Ottawa is considering involving Chinese contractors, a move Washington would see as direct interference from Beijing. Analysts warn that if the project is not stopped in the coming months, the United States will face the most serious challenge in its history with Canada. This is no longer just a trade war. As a former State Department advisor summarized, it is a matter of survival. The $300 billion megadam is transforming from an engineering project into a symbol of a new era where water itself becomes a weapon, and the consequences of this crisis will be felt far beyond the North American continent.